Imagine you are a tourist in Paris. You stand near the famous Louvre Museum. The morning air is fresh and cold. It is a quiet Sunday morning. You look at the southern wall of the massive Louvre Palace. You see a large white truck. The truck drives against normal traffic. It parks illegally near the heavy stone wall. Two men sit inside the truck cabin. They wear bright yellow reflective vests. They wear hard plastic construction helmets. They look like ordinary city workers. You do not pay much attention to them. They step out of the truck. They climb into a metal construction basket. A long hydraulic arm lifts the basket high into the air. The basket stops near a large, beautiful window. The men start powerful gas saws. A screeching sound of cutting metal hits your ears. A loud security alarm suddenly begins to ring. You watch this two men climb inside the Louvre building. You do not understand the truth. You are watching the most destructive museum heist of the modern century right now. The Louvre was always a symbol of absolute security. The whole world believed this museum fortress was impregnable. That strong illusion completely died on that Sunday morning. A small gang of 4 criminals destroyed the old myth. They successfully invaded the historic Galerie d'Apollon. They stole priceless treasures from the French royal jewelry collection. The stolen artifacts had a massive financial value. Authorities estimated the stolen jewels were worth 88 million euros. That is roughly $102 million. This was the first successful forced entry into the museum since 1998. The brazen crime shocked the entire French nation. It terrified the global museum community. The most shocking fact was the incredible speed of the crime. The entire operation took less than 8 minutes from start to finish. The criminals spent exactly 4 minutes inside the physical museum. A disaster of this magnitude requires a perfect storm of failures. The Louvre was suffering from a deep institutional crisis. The beautiful facade hid a failing and decaying infrastructure. Museum leaders severely underfunded basic security systems for many years. They preferred to spend money on beautiful exhibitions and new art. In 2025, the museum had 9 million visitors. The frontline staff was critically exhausted and deeply unhappy. The workers frequently went on strike. The old building physically struggled to handle the massive crowds. Large water leaks regularly flooded the historic galleries. The museum had to close sections to protect the art. A massive corruption scheme also operated inside the museum walls. Staff ticket controllers worked secretly with dishonest tour guides. They reused the same paper tickets for large Chinese tourist groups. This internal fraud cost the Louvre over 10 million euros. The security cameras were old and constantly broken. The security guards were tired and completely demoralized. The greatest museum in the world was totally defenseless. The criminals knew all of these glaring weaknesses. They planned their attack for 9:30 in the morning. This was just 30 minutes after the museum doors opened. The large halls were just starting to fill with tourists. The criminals used temporary construction work to hide their actions. The southern facade of the museum faced a busy street. This wall was covered in large metal scaffolding and thick nets. This construction created a perfect visual blind spot. The criminals drove a stolen truck to this exact spot. Nobody questioned the illegally parked construction vehicle. The criminals in the cabin looked like normal construction workers. 2 other armed criminals arrived quietly on fast Japanese scooters. They parked the scooters below with the engines running. They waited to provide a fast escape for the team. The 2 fake workers used the hydraulic lift to go up. They stopped right in front of the Galerie d'Apollon windows. This 16th century hall held the legendary French crown jewels. The chosen window had no modern anti-vandal metal grates. The window had no reinforced internal locking mechanisms. This was a massive failure by the museum security department. The robbers used their heavy circular saws on the glass. They broke through the ancient barrier in a few loud seconds. They stepped inside the gallery at exactly 34 minutes past 9. The loud security alarm immediately started ringing. This alarm only exposed the terrible response protocols of the museum. The robbers acted with extreme aggression and brutal force. They pointed their spinning saw blades at the unarmed museum guards. The museum guards were not allowed to carry any guns. The museum guards could not stop the violent attackers. The alarm wailed loudly through the long museum hallways. The security operators in the central control room panicked. They stared at dozens of confusing video monitors. They tried to find the armed intruders. The video surveillance software was incredibly old and slow. The password for the security system was literally just the name of the museum. The computer system lagged heavily. The camera screens switched with massive delays. Half of the cameras in that wing were completely broken. The confused operators sent the armed police to the wrong location. They sent their own security teams to a completely different museum wing. This terrible mistake gave the robbers priceless, unchecked time. The criminals inside the gallery sawed through the armored display glass. They ignored the famous Regent diamond entirely. They knew this €50 million diamond was impossible to sell. It was too famous. They smartly focused on complex historical jewelry pieces. These pieces contained many smaller sapphires and emeralds. Small stones are very easy to remove and recut. The robbers moved with terrifying speed and precision. They grabbed the beautiful sapphire jewelry of Queen Marie Amélie. They took the green emerald set of Empress Marie Louise. They threw these priceless historical items into heavy canvas bags. They rushed back toward the broken window. They had been inside for exactly 4 minutes. They tried to drag the heavy emerald crown of Empress Eugenie through the glass. The metal frame of the crown bent and deformed. They climbed into the swinging construction basket. They lost their balance in the wind. They dropped the sparkling crown directly onto the hard street below. They lost a priceless item, but did not stop to get it. They reached the ground safely. They planned to burn the truck and the basket to destroy evidence. They had a special chemical fire mixture ready. Suddenly, the first police cars started driving toward them. The police arrived just 30 seconds too late to stop them. The robbers dropped their heavy tools and yellow vests. They jumped onto the waiting fast scooters. They sped away down the busy highway. They vanished completely into the dense morning traffic. The fleeing robbers made one massive, fatal mistake. They left their personal items on the ground in their panic. Police forensic teams collected over 150 biological samples. They found DNA on the discarded helmets and tools. The laboratory results shocked the entire French public. These robbers were not elegant Hollywood thieves in expensive suits. These men were ordinary street criminals from poor Paris suburbs. The main suspect was a 39-year-old man named Abdoulaye. He was a local social media star. He posted videos of himself doing dangerous motorcycle stunts. He used the online name Doudou Cross Bitumen. He already had 15 criminal convictions on his record. He had briefly worked as a security guard at the Pompidou Center. This job taught him about museum security weaknesses. The police soon arrested the other gang members. They caught an Algerian man at the airport with a one-way ticket. They found the DNA of a married couple inside the truck cabin. The investigators knew this small street gang did not work alone. A massive international money laundering syndicate ordered the heist. The syndicate took the jewels immediately after the scooter escape. The fate of the stolen treasures is extremely dark. Art crime experts know exactly what happens to historical jewelry. The items are quickly destroyed for fast criminal profit. The beautiful gold and platinum settings are ruthlessly melted down. They become ordinary metal bars with no history. The unique 19th century sapphires and emeralds are given to shadow jewelers. These stones have no modern tracking microchips. The shadow jewelers brutally cut the large stones into smaller pieces. The stones lose their original weight and historical shape. They become completely impossible to identify. The artifacts are erased from human history forever. The Louvre only recovered the damaged crown of Empress Eugenie. The robbers dropped it on the street. It now sits in a secret laboratory, waiting for years of expensive repair. The 7-minute heist caused massive changes in France. The French public demanded answers. The French Senate held special emergency hearings. The top managers of the Louvre had to testify under oath. The truth was very embarrassing for the French government. The external video cameras were completely useless. A camera was supposed to watch the southern facade. That specific camera was never even purchased. The only camera in that area pointed at the street traffic. It could not see the broken window. An internal audit revealed terrible numbers. Only 1/3 of the interior rooms had working cameras. The national press attacked the museum administration. The financial reports showed the museum had plenty of money. The directors just refused to spend it on security. They bought new paintings instead. They threw expensive parties instead. They ignored basic maintenance. It was a complete institutional failure. The humiliated Louvre directors and the Ministry of Culture panicked. They started an emergency security upgrade program. The budget for this massive project is 80 million euros. The museum will buy new digital systems with artificial intelligence. They will install hundreds of new high-tech night vision cameras. They will build strong physical barriers outside the historical walls. Heavy construction trucks will never get close to the windows again. The museum desperately needed money to pay for these new upgrades. The directors raised the price of tourist tickets by 45%. This massive price increase angered people all over the world. The ghost of Vincenzo Peruggia was smiling. He was the man who stole the Mona Lisa in 1911. This new robbery happened exactly 100 years after his death. Both crimes shared one amazing and simple fact. They were not committed by criminal masterminds. They were committed by ordinary men who exploited lazy security. They walked in and took what they wanted. The heist proved a very harsh lesson to the entire world. You do not need genius hackers to rob a giant fortress. You only need a rented construction lift and a cheap saw. You need absolute audacity. You need a lazy, bureaucratic system that ignores its own deep flaws. The Louvre relied on its famous name instead of real security. A few men on motorcycles proved that history is incredibly fragile.